Good morning, Rotaractors. Welcome to day 2 of the virtual Rotaract District Assembly. And welcome to this particular session about design thinking mindset for modern learners. So in this session, we will be talking about design thinking. I'm sure most of us have heard about design thinking, but probably most of us are still wondering what more can we know about design thinking. So this is the right place for all of us to know what design thinking is, how it works, and how we can use it for our professional and personal lives. We have our speaker, Anna Maria Manda, for 1 hour of introduction to design thinking, where we can learn what design thinking is, what kind of skills it requires, and how we can apply it to our daily lives and as well as to the Rotaract projects that we do. So talking about our speaker today, Anna Maria is an entrepreneur, design thinking and leadership trainer and coach. A Rotaract member based in Zurich, Switzerland, she is the founder of 2 innovative businesses in the e-commerce and personalized beauty industries. Given her extensive entrepreneurial experience, she is a startup advisor under the Kickstart Innovation umbrella. Anna Maria has an MA in law from Sorbonne University. She defines herself as an innovation-driven entrepreneur on a mission to inspire people, turn dreams into impact, and live a life with flow. She loves to work with students and strongly believes that change starts with one's own self. So let us welcome our speaker today, Anna Maria Manda. Over to you.
Much for introduction. I'm really pleased and happy to be with all of you today here, dialing in from Zurich, Switzerland, 7 in the morning for me, so please be gentle. I'm very glad to be here to present to you in the following 1 hour more about design thinking. I will share my screen if that's okay. Give me just 1 second for the technicalities to share the screen, and then we can kickstart with the presentation. Shaka, maybe if you can support me in this, because it seems like I cannot share the screen.
Anna, is there an issue? Is it not allowing you to share?
Yeah, it seems like I don't have an option to share my screen. I have a couple of PowerPoints to support what I'm speaking, so it'd be useful if we manage. If not, I can also just do it without.
And is it not allowing you to share, or are you not being able to find the button?
No, I do find a button, but I am not allowed to share.
Just a minute.
If it's not working and if it's too complicated, then I will just, use my present, but it would be very helpful if we can also use the screen. There are also a couple of videos I would have like the audience to see.
Yes, Anna. So I'm getting the technical thing done. Probably you could start, and once it's all right, I'll let you know.
Okay. So should I already give it a go, or should I wait? I'm sorry, I didn't really understand. Okay, given the fact that we're 7 minutes after the established time, then I'll give it a go. And Shaika, please let me know if you manage to fix this in between. So good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening for wherever place you're dialing in from. I'm really happy to be here with you. Anna Maria Manda, it's my name. I'm a Rotaractor myself, a member of the Zurich clubs in Switzerland since 2015. By background, I'm a jurist, but I work as a certified trainer in leadership, design thinking, and innovation. I have experience as an entrepreneur forming one NGO in the industry of education and movie, as well as a startup builder with 2 active startups at the moment and 1 startup that I had to close down a while ago. And something funny about myself maybe is that I'm an ice cream addict. So I would like today to take you through the journey of design thinking. I would like first to focus on what design thinking is, and after that we will look together into what is the methodology we can use in order to apply design thinking, be it to our career, to our personal life, or to a specific process we want to develop, how we apply it. And at the very end, for about 10-15 minutes, I would like to leave the floor open for you in case you will have any questions. So if we talk about this...
I may, just a minute. Sorry, I just checked with the technical team. They were requesting if to know if you've joined through the Teams app or are you on the web?
I'm through the Teams app.
So they've requested if you could rejoin from the web. Probably there's a technical glitch with the application because from our side we've given the access.
Okay.
Will that be possible?
To be honest, I'm not very sure how to do it because whenever I click the link, since I have the app on my computer, it automatically takes me to the app.
So it should, when you click the link, it should probably, so I'll do one thing. I'll email you the link. And with that, when you click on the link, it will probably give you a pop-up on the browser to join from the web, and you could do that.
Okay, let me try again. I will just, sorry everybody for the technicalities. I'll dial out and come in again. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, hello again, everybody. Let's try again, see if this time I can share. Unfortunately, it's still not working. Shake, I'm very sorry, but I don't seem to have, I mean, I have the button, but I'm not able, the system is not letting me share anything.
All right. So Anna, if you could also email the things to us, we would probably help with the screen sharing. Will that be possible?
Yeah, we can do that. Give me just 1 second.
It's completely mandatory, yeah.
So, Shake, you should have it now in your inbox. If you can maybe check and share it, that'd be great.
Yes, just a second.
Meanwhile, maybe we can use the functionalities of Teams to have a bit of understanding how many of you actually know or have used design thinking so far. So if you look in Teams in the lower part, you have the option of raising your hand. And I would like all of you who have already interacted or used design thinking to raise their hand just to see also a bit in the audience, what's the experience? Or if you have your camera on, even better. I see already some hands on. Perfect, thank you so much. And maybe, Shake, if you can also unmute some of the participants, is that possible? I'm probably not very typical, conference kind of person. I like to interact a lot with my audience. So if that would be possible, I'll very much appreciate to also hear some thoughts from you and sharing your experience, because I truly believe that every single experience of every individual is something that can contribute to who we are.
Yes, Anna, definitely. So we have Nirvik with us. Nirvik, if you're here with the technical support, he can help us unmuting the participants, and everybody who would like to speak, we request you to raise your hands and Nirvik will help you with that. In the meantime, Anna, we were just checking for the presentations. We've not received it as of now on the email. If you could also recheck once.
Has already left my inbox. I just checked. So yeah, let's give it another 2 minutes maybe. And I saw some hands up before. If you still want to talk and want to share with us your experience with design thinking, what design thinking means to you, and how you've used it so far, I'll be very glad to hear your story. Come on, don't be shy. Speaking in front of the audience is just, a great experience. I see 3 people raising their hands. Maybe technical can support me to.
Yes, if you would like to share anything to all the participants, you can unmute yourself. The host has given you the access. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, I think there may be some technicalities. Maybe the people who raise their hand, instead of unmuting, maybe you can just type in the chat your experience, and then I'm going to voice your experience for the audience in the chat. Like, technicalities are not on our side today, but we're gonna find a way through. So, Ajay, there is one more person who has access to speak now, but I see, I'm sorry, I'm not able to read the name. So if you can check the participants list, you can see yourself. If not, I can see also Sarita, meanwhile, got the access. So Sarita, you can unmute yourself and share your experience.
Hi, can I share my experience in design thinking?
I'm sorry?
Can I share the experience you asked? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think the connection is not so good.
Am I audible? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So hi, my name is Rotaract Ajay. I'm International Service Director of Rotaract Kathmandu. And fortunately, before COVID, I got chance to uh, uh, grab this opportunity to take a training of design thinking from my home district. And there we got to know about several aspects of design thinking. And fortunately, in this COVID time, we got this opportunity to include those techniques of design thinking in our project. So one experience which I would like to highlight is that my club actually did one project called Food Reactor, and it was an international food exchange project. So basically, earlier what we found that members were not having engagement with the project. They were not feeling engaged, and that was kind of problem to our project. And almost everything was going virtual, and they're missing the physical activity. So with a kind of help from the design thinking, we try to find some ways where we could conduct a project virtually, but it could have a physical effect. So we came up with this event Food Reactor, which was a food exchange project. So the participants actually shared their food recipe with each other. We had Rotaractors from 8 different countries participating in the project, and they shared the recipe with each other, and they made the food. So although the food, like the event was virtual, they were able to taste the physical taste of the food. And you know uh, that was kind of event which was actually motivated by the concept of design thinking, because we talked with the road tractors from different countries. We actually found their problem, and we actually came up with this solution. So this is how we actually have been using design thinking in our projects, ma'am.
Very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Can you maybe also be more precise and tell me what exactly from design thinking you used in this process that helped you to, achieve this great success and make it possible? What was different from before?
So initially, what we found that whenever the projects were designed, they were actually like very few engagement were done from the among the participants, and also the participating countries. So the first thing what we tried to do was, like, we wanted to define the problem, what specific problem we were facing when we were hosting the project. So we had an interaction with our members and also the potential participants who were going to join us. So that was the first thing, like defining the problem was the first step which we did as part of design thinking. And then yeah, that was the one. We also had other options too, but I think I have a limited time. So first, defining the problem was one of them.
So much. Defining the problem. That's a great one. We're going to talk in the next couple of minutes about it. Thank you so much today for sharing. Maybe meanwhile we'll also take Sarita. You can also unmute yourself and share your experience, and maybe mention what's the one element from design thinking that made a difference in your experience. Sarita? Okay. Seems like Sarita left the chat. Shaka, did you manage to receive the presentation meanwhile? Is everything okay? We can carry on with the content? I'm not sure if you're speaking, Shaka. You're on mute. Okay. Well, I would say I don't want to, prolong longer this situation. So I would like to continue actually with the content to be able to also give you some sustainable and useful information today about design thinking. We already had some people who had great success about design thinking. And I would like, I'll continue without the slides, and I'll try to adapt today to our presentation like this. So by means of introduction to design thinking, I would like to highlight the fact that design thinking is a problem-solving methodology. It has a very human-centered perspective. So everything when it comes to design thinking, oh great, we have the presentation. Thank you so much. Maybe we can go then to the fourth slide already. Perfect, thank you so much. So design thinking, it's a human-centered methodology and it's possibility-driven. That means that design thinking is not only giving you a solution, it's giving you a palette, a multitude of options to iterate from and find the best fitting option for your specific situation. And iterative means that, you know, you will go from point A to point D, but in point D you'll realize, well, something is not so good. We will need to fix point B in order to have a better point D. And you will go back and change between the different points in your process in order to achieve that perfect result you're looking for. Maybe we can move to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. And over here, you're able to see actually the flow within design thinking. The very first step in the 5 stages of design thinking, it's empathizing. Design thinking really puts people and their needs first. Therefore, the first step of the process is to understand the problem, as we heard before. I'm sorry. Okay, as we heard before, problem is really key, and empathizing to define and to find the perspective of the end user, it's actually the very first step in design thinking. What we're trying to do in this step is to understand the way the consumer, our customer, does things and their why, their personal needs, and what is really meaningful to them. The why to learn about the end user through observation and interviews. We will need to engage with them directly to really conduct conversation and extract as much information as possible. It's a very hands-on kind of experience in this step. And once we manage to pinpoint really what is the real problem, we will try to really shape and to define, which is the very second stage. With the information that we gathered in empathizing phase, the problem solver is better equipped to really determine what the real problem, the challenge behind the situation is. And during this defining stage, the needs and the insights that were uncovered during the empathize phase are cataloged and inventoried to the true problem that emerges. It's important to really keep in our mind that framing the right problem is the only way to create the right solution, because many times it happens that with the goal of one project we're conducting, we want to solve something, but we never actually checked what's the real problem. So if we offer a solution that is not serving the needs of the end user, we invest our time and energy for nothing. That's why definition of the problem is really key. Once we understand, what's the problem, we will go into ideation phase, the third stage of design thinking. In this step, the problem solver uses a creative mindset to really generate as many ideas as possible to solve the problem. And when I say as many as possible, I really mean it, because in this step, we're not focusing on how feasible the ideas are, but we are trying to understand what options do we have. We're gonna look on a later stage how feasible and how good these ideas that we gather in an ideation phase are. We're really concentrating in generating a high number of options. Some of the tools available for ideation include brainstorming, mind mapping, doodling, and so on. And we're also gonna concentrate a bit later on what tools we can use in every single stage of design thinking and what are their benefits. Nothing is really off limits. And after all, once you adopt the design thinking mindset, you know that you choose better if you choose from a lot of ideas. The fourth stage, now that we have a huge pool of different options to go about our problem and find the perfect solution is to start prototyping. Because design thinkers learn very much by doing, and because they build their way forward. The best ideas from the idea school stage are chosen to be turned into prototypes, really to pick between 3 or 5 ideas to start prototyping. So imagine in your pool, you are a group of 4 people and you gather together more than 100 ideas. You'll go to different kind of exercises to identify together as a group what is, the top 5 of ideas you want to go in the next stage and try to check their feasibility. The solution has to be tangible and to really offer you the options to create it. One of the key elements for this step of prototyping is the speed. The idea isn't to come up with something perfect, but something that you can test very quickly. The objective in this step is really to get the ideas out there to really try to define and to see how their potential and the potential of really helping you to better solve the problem and fail very, very fast and very cheap in order to be ready and to have the certainty that your prototype is the one that will have to go in the testing phase. Testing phase being the very last stage of design thinking. Once you have your prototype, you go out in the real world and you're going to start to test with real end users. You have to accept the failure is part of this design thinking process. In fact, your goal at the testing stage isn't to be told that your prototype is a great option and a great success, but actually to get feedback so that you can adjust very fast all the elements of your prototype and refine it for a better solution. The process of ideation, of prototyping and testing is repeated really multiple times until your prototype, your final version, your final solution meets the needs of the end user that you identified in the first stages. You can go through the entire process from the first step, so from empathize to the very last step of testing, or you may realize, well, we think it's only the prototype. We want to change something in the prototype. So you will go from testing back to prototype and again back to testing. It might be that you realize, well, now that we've done some tests, we realize we didn't very well define our problem. So you'll try to go back in the define stage and retake every single step in the flow.
चलिरहेको अब खासै अब नयाँ प्रोग्रेसिभ कुराहरू हुँदैछ अब जे होस् भोलि हिजो एउटा नयाँ आछ त्यही अस्ति नै
I'm sorry. Okay. I think that was not for me. Good. Now we'll try to really put a question for most of the stages in design thinking. Defining a question that answers to the stage will help you to better understand its essence. And define stage, it's about the now, the present, what is. Majority of successful innovation begins really with an accurate assessment of what is it going now, today. Starting out by developing a better understanding of the current reality is a hallmark to the design thinking, and is the really core of design's data-intensive and user-driven approach. We really tend to run to the future and to think of, oh, what can I do tomorrow? But we forget about that without finding the solution for today and paying enough attention to this stage will make us not see specific facts. Firstly, if we look into the present, it will help us to broaden and perhaps even really change completely our definition of the problem or opportunity that we want to tackle. Without even being able to understand the present, we can throw away all kinds of opportunities for innovation before we even start to find a solution. Secondly, this attention to the present really helps us uncover unarticulated needs, which are the key to producing the kind of innovation design criteria really generates and makes a solution be different. And those are the kind that we really want to look for to make our businesses, our projects really stand out and be profitable. If we go to the next slide, please. In the third stage, ideation, we're talking about what if. What if really, really anything were possible? We try to generate ideas and explore possible solutions. That I believe is one of the most powerful questions, really. What if anything were possible? Imagine if you would not have to be stressed about time, about all kind of personal responsibilities or money and so on. What would be your way to go about it? So often we get trapped into starting with constraints rather than the possibilities, and then the future ends up looking like a lot of the present. This phase is where brainstorming starts to occur. Rather than relying entirely on our imagination and idea generation, we're going to go back and use the insights and criteria we generated during the first phase of empathizing. So we start to trigger a series of questions. Those questions will help us think outside of the box, out of our comfort zone, to create as many ideas as possible. In fact, we can think of each of the individual ideas. I'm sorry, I think somebody is not on mute yet. Thank you very much. So we can think of each of the ideas that we generate as they were a Lego block. Yeah, I'm sure many of you have already played with Lego. And design thinking is really finding the right pieces, putting them together and disassembling to find a better solution, a more efficient, rapid, and cost-efficient solution. And then in the concept development, we're going to take those individual ideas and combine them, just the way kids do with the Lego. Because when you play together, you come also together with different ideas that are better than just your individual idea, just because multiple brains together can see the problem from a different perspective and can add elements to the solution that as an individual sometimes we struggle to see. If we go to the next, please. And now it's about the prototyping phase. What woes? In this stage, we're going to treat each of our business concepts or projects really explicitly as a hypothesis. We begin to think systematically about really evaluating our entire process against our design criteria. Now, if we get the first two questions, what is and what if, approximately right, we'll find to our simultaneous pleasure and concern that we have far too many interesting concepts to move forward all at once. Therefore, we're going to have to make a cut, to make a hard choice and to say, okay, these are the top 3 or top 5. I personally highly encourage everybody going through the process to stick with 3 ideas, just because it's easier to follow and your brain works always much better with number 3. But the woe is really the sweet point, where the sense of significant upside for our stakeholders or managers of the project to match to our organizational resources and the capabilities that we have, needs to find an overlap and to find this woe zone. In making this assessment involves surfacing and testing the assumptions about why each of our concepts is a good idea, why one concept that wows or another one that is not so good can go further in the product in the testing phase. The ones that manage to pass the first level are the good candidates for turning really our solution, our experience, to get to the next stage of success. And in order to do so, we need to transform the concept into something that has a potential customer and where we can really interact for getting end-to-end feedback to what we can do better. So now we're finally to learn about the real world, going out there and asking them about the fourth question. Next slide, please. We're going to test and we're going to try to understand what works. And trying out a low fidelity prototype with actual users is really key to a very fast and cheap success. And please remember that prototyping is not about, investing a lot of money in creating an app, develop an app from the very beginning, but starting maybe with some white paper and a pen and really drawing everything by hand and trying to see the workflow in your process. Because if you're going to prototype expensive and go in the testing phase and you realize in the testing that everything you constructed is not actually solving the problem, is not the right solution, you lost all that time and resources. So keep prototyping very cheap, very, just sketches on a paper, really use cardboard to cut the cardboard and construct how a model of a product would look like before going in the test. Now they're in the test and you go out to ask your end users, how does it feel to hold my prototype in the hand? What do you think about the workflow? Does it correspond to your expectation and your needs? You're going to have instant and direct feedback. And when I say going out, really create your personas, and we're going to talk about what a persona is, to really know who to go to, because sometimes we may just go to the wrong person and our test will not be necessarily relevant for the entire workflow we developed because the feedback is not coming from the right person. So make sure to target your test and use the real end users that would, in a real case scenario, use the product you're working on or the project you're working on to test and to get really fast feedback. It's really about working fast in feedback cycles. You have to be very flexible to adapt and very fast implement all the inputs you receive from the end user. This helps you minimize the cost of conducting the experiment and fail very early to succeed sooner and test for key trade-offs and assumptions really early on. Now, I would like to make a short pause here before continuing to understand, if there are any questions. What do you feel? Is this something that sounds relevant to you from the experience you had with design thinking so far? And maybe you can put a couple of feedback in the chat or raise your hand to say, yes, I'm okay, we can carry on. If that's okay and I can continue, please raise your hand. Or if there are any questions, please drop your question in the chat. Okay, I think we can, let me see in the chat. Okay, I think we can carry on. I see already some hands up. So with that, I would like to move to the next slide, please. Okay, so here what you see is really the workflow of the 5 stages of design thinking. It's about diverging and really be very open to the information we're receiving in the empathize phase, and then starting to converge to really narrow down to the problem, to the definition of our problem. And then once we establish that, we start again to diverge in order to ideate, to create as many solutions as possible, and as well towards the mid end part of the prototyping phase, we're going to start to converge again and to go in the testing and iterations. One could say that design thinking is about starting with empathy, designing collaboratively, because it's very key and important to the process to work in teams, failing fast and cheaper to create innovative and end-to-end experiences for our customers and end users. You can think about design thinking as a puzzle. There are different there are actually two types of problems out there, the mysteries and the puzzle. And if you take the puzzle, there are problems where when you have the right level of information of data disclosure, and you know the absolute number in the game, then the problem can be solved. So you can look at design thinking also in a way of, you gather all your puzzle elements, you put them together, you test it, and you see what's the better fit in the puzzle to make it work for your customer. Next slide, please. What's very key to design thinking is that every single person can do design thinking. You can use design thinking for your personal use, for your career, for your personal life, but also for projects in which you're working and so on. But design thinking is really about the mindset. A design mindset is not problem focused, but it's solution focused and action oriented. It involves both analysis and imagination. And I know many people have this first reaction, well, I don't have enough imagination. I'm not a creative person. But let me give you a great news. You are. Everybody is. And actually being creative, it's something that will come along the process. And the process is what's going to support you in generating ideas and having new ways of seeing things with the help of different exercises. Design thinking is linked to creating an improved future and really seek to build up new ideas. Unlike critical thinking, which is really break down the concept to look at the problem. Design thinking looks for the problem solving and is making something really to go away. When we're talking about mindset, we have two categories of mindset. We have the fixed mindset and we have the growth mindset. Now, the fixed mindset is mostly individuals who believe their talents are innate gift and they can't change in any meaningful way what they have. They believe that their ability to grow and improve is limited and finite. And they avoid the challenges. They consider failure to be a proof of maybe I'm not good enough. I don't know how to do it. This is not for me. But again, everybody has a growth mindset as well. The growth mindset sits really in you, and it's the power of an individual action and a group action. And individuals who believe their talents can be developed through hard work, through good strategies, input from other people, brainstorming and working together are the individuals with the growth mindset. And you can also work on improving and having a richer growth mindset. It's done through exercise and through support from the group. Individuals with growth mindset really embrace the challenges. They take challenge like an opportunity to go further in their adventure, in their journey. And they really consider failure as an opportunity to learn. And honestly, I can tell you from my own experience, it's not easy to fail, but it's so fulfilling to see that very fast you have results. And you take that opportunity to learn something and to say, okay, next time I'm going to do it different because I know already how it's working. It's about really getting inspired by the success of others, looking at people you admire and setting yourself the goal to be there, because every single person can be where you put your mind to be. Let's go to the next slide, please. So here you see a diagram of the flow, the cycle of design thinking. Because we first go in the ideation, and you see the loop goes through the inspiration. We gather the ideas. We try to see how we can put them together. We develop the prototype, and then we go in the implementation phase. And what I would like to highlight here, it's about dreaming up wild ideas. Don't be scared to think big, to think really with, ideas that you may feel shy to express initially because you think it's too far from your reality. Every single thing is possible. It's really just up to you to take the action step by step to do it. It may not be easy, but it's a beautiful journey in which you're going to learn and develop yourself and start to inspire and support others. It's about you, but it's also about the community. You need to take the time to improve and to test every solution you find. And you have to be being willing to fail early and very often. That's really key. And I know I'm highlighting that, but it's really what will make you successful. This designer's mindset, it's really embracing empathy, optimism, iteration, creativity, but also ambiguity. Things are not always clear, and this is where design thinking comes in place to support us to bring more clarity in the process and make it work. And the most critically, design thinking keeps people at the center of every single process. You always keep in mind your end user because you're trying to find a solution for your end user. Design thinking, as said, it's a human-centered designer. So in the design thinking phase, you have to stay focused on your people and to design for them and not for yourself. You need to listen to them and to find the best solutions for them directly in order to achieve an optimal solution that really meets their needs. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. Here you see a bit of the curve of the journey. You know, in the beginning, you're very hopeful, you're open to do stuff, but then when you see you start to fail, things become difficult, your energy maybe and your mood for it will go lower and lower. But once you're going to start to build on the insights you receive from your end user, your confidence will start to be boosted. You will start to realize, well, actually, we can find a solution. There is something we can do about it. And do know that anyone, really anyone on this planet can approach the world like a designer. You are a designer already. It's a matter of getting your hands on, getting your hands dirty, and start taking actions for it. To unlock a greater potential and to learn how to work in a dynamic, very problem-solver-oriented environment and to create confidence, it's key to the entire process. Now, design thinking, it's already on the market for a long time ago. Probably in the 60s already, we've had references to design thinking. But I would like to bring to your attention David Kelly from IDEO. IDEO, it's a school for design thinking that somehow rebranded and brought to the market about 20 years ago, the way design thinking. And David is saying that creative confidence is the belief that everyone is creative and that creativity isn't just the ability to draw or to compose or sculpt or, you know, play the piano, but it's really a way of understanding the world. It's your ability as an individual to see how the world is communicating, see how the world is functioning, connecting the dots and finding the solution. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, we're not alone, and you see here a huge map with all kinds of tools. Because design thinking, it's something that we do in a very organized manner, even though it's a creative way of doing it. And for each stage, all the 5 stages we saw, we have different solutions. And just to name a couple, you know, I mentioned before persona. So in the very first stages, we're going to look at who is the end user, and we're going to try to define that persona to really say, okay, my end user, my persona is called Maike, and Maike, it's a 23-year-old person. She goes to school. She loves to play tennis. She loves to cook and to spend time with her family. And she wants to start building her family and enjoys very much, traveling. You really want to be very precise on the personality of your end user, because the more you understand the personality of your end user, the more you will know where to look for your end user. It's my persona, Maike, spending her time on, Facebook, Instagram. Where can I find her in order to convey the message to her? Because whenever I'm looking to do, for example, interviews or to start testing, I need to find those people. I need to understand how they think in order to know where to look for them. A persona is one way of looking. The other way, it's a journey map. Journey map means that I, as a designer, I step in the shoes of my persona, of Maike, and I try to understand how Maike thinks. How does she do things in her life? What is her routine? What determined her to get to that specific need she has? Really go very precise in as many details as possible in order to better empathize. Now, if we move a bit to, the need part, to the problem statement, to move from the problem statement to the strategy and to the assessment part, we have tools such as the scale of 5 whys. Once we found the problem, we try to go deeper in the problem. Let's say I don't like eating in restaurants. Why? Because I don't like the client service. Why? Because people are not nice enough with me. Why? Because I don't like the way they talk to me. And going deeper and deeper with whys in your problem, you will start to understand where actually the problem is sitting. Is it about a process? Is it about the people? Where does it come from? And define it. Really frame it in a way that you can start to look at the solution. Then we go more into the response part in the prototyping and building and testing. And here I highly encourage you again to use very cheap solutions. Use cardboard, use paper, use, sit in the shoes of a kid and imagine how a kid will play and construct stuff. Use Lego. Lego is like really one of the most used ways of doing design thinking, together with maybe some sketches on Notepad or some drawings. Use all of these very simple tools to get to your final solution. Now, in consideration of time, I would like to skip the next slide. There is a video, but I would highly encourage everybody, go on YouTube and search the founder. The founder is actually the history of McDonald's chain and how they design a very efficient restaurant where you can be served very fast with warm food in just under 1 or 2 minutes. And in this particular scene in the founder, you will be able to see 2 different processes that they use to create their prototype. One is visualization, and the other one is prototyping really per se. So maybe after our session, you can take the time to go and check it. And also as a movie, if you want to spend popcorn, an evening with popcorn and a movie, I totally recommend you. Next slide, please. I would like now to make really a summary of what we discussed so far. And I would say there are 4 key ideas I would be happy for you to take today. And the first one is really gather insights by practicing empathy, observing with as much attention as possible, and going to interview people, to talk with your people, with your end users. Ask them as many questions as possible, because the most you understand them, the faster you will get to a solution. Secondly, I would like you to go and build scrappy prototypes and to learn about the unmet needs. Thirdly, I would like you to turn your problems into questions, because design thinking is about solutions. So our problem, once identified, we'll start to question to get to different solutions. And fourthly, not last but not the least, use research to understand the past, the present, and the future. But remember to focus on the now, because now it's what's going to give you different perspectives for the future. And because I like to make this session practical for you, maybe we can go to the next slide. I would like to tell you about a great place, a website, Designing Your Life. It's a book, but it's actually the most known class that is taken in the Stanford University. It's taught by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. And since years, it's the most booked and sold out class that you can find at Stanford University. Here, in the course of just 4 hours, you're going to learn about how you can apply methodologies, tools, and exercises of design thinking to your personal life. And if somebody from the organization can help me, I would actually be happy to share with you 2 different tools they offer. One is called the Good Time Journal Activity Log, and the other one is the Odyssey Plans. I'm going to briefly introduce both of them to you today, and you can use this kind of tools to improve, your career, your well-being, to better understand your life, and to find a solution to be a happier person that lives very joyful in a very efficient and happy way. If you allow me just 1 second, I will post in the group a place where you can actually go and search for more information about designing your life. So first of all, I can share with you in the chat my LinkedIn, and if you have any other questions after this session, you can also just reach to me via LinkedIn. And secondly, I'm going to post the link to Designing Your Life platform. And after that, we can quickly look into the 2 tools offered by Designing Your Life, because this is a very easy way to use design thinking in your day-to-day life to really improve very fast things that make you maybe unhappy, or you're not really sure why you don't know how to solve something, and you find an easy, fast solution. Good. So you should have now in the chat the 2 links. Now, focusing on this very first tool, Designing Your Life, the activity log. Let's assume that you're feeling unfulfilled at work, and in order to determine how to improve the situation, you start keeping a good time journal, as we call it. We're going to keep track of our daily activities for a minimum of a week to determine which activities you enjoy the most. Some activities may be very energizing, bring you a lot of joy and happiness, but some others may be draining you the energy. And logging your major activities for a few weeks and noting down the level of the activity is giving you will create an overview of where the problem is standing and what actually is the solution. As with the purpose of this exercise is to notice really what activities affect you on a daily basis and what it's actually something that boosts you. Going through your log will give you ideas on how you can improve your routines. And there are a couple of questions that I highly encourage you to ask yourself during this process. And if you have a pen and a paper, please take notes and reflect on these questions later on. And I would say you can start to ask yourself, when do I feel completely involved in the activity I'm carrying out? When am I the most mindful person? You can also question which activities make me happy. And also this chart, this log will give you an indication, because if you look on the projection, you have on the left the lines. The lines are the places where you log the title of the activity, and you can write 2 sentences of how it made you feel. Then you have the engagement scale. Left part is really the lowest engagement level. So that will show you, it's up to you to put a line of how engaged you are. And then the second one is the energy. Is it low or is it high? Positive or negative energy? And if for every single activity in your life you're gonna start to do this, you're gonna understand where the problem is coming from. You can also ask yourself, when do I work at the peak of my level? There are people who are more productive at night, others they're proactive and very resourceful during the daytime. Think of what activities make you very calm and serene and really enjoy the process. And also, when do you feel this state of flow? And you also have a small peak at the energy level where you can say, yes, this kind of activity made me feel in flow. Then you will start to use the rest of design thinking process to redesign your current and your next, activities, so you can do more of what you actually love. And we can go quickly in the second. You can move to the next slide. The second exercise, Odyssey's plan, is sort of a brainstorming with yourself on how is my life working? What takes me forward? And how will my life look like maybe in the next 10 or 5 years? And for this, you have 5 different columns, and they are noted you can note them they're noted on the upper part with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 is the present, is the now. And you can use the column to explain how does your life look like now, today. The second one, how is my life gonna look in 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years. Yeah. So it's really you projecting yourself in the future and trying to define, to visualize how your life will be looking like, because you are the designer of your life. Please remember that and practice that every single day of your life, because what you put on your paper and what you put to your mind is really what will happen in the future. With hard work and with persistence, resilience, and failing very fast, learning very fast, reiterating, you're gonna get to your goal in 5 years. I promise you that. And there are so many examples, great examples out there who did that. So you can also be an example not only for yourself, but for others, to start with your own personal example to inspire the world and create a better tomorrow all together. So in order to apply design thinking to these 2 kind of exercises, let's go to the next slide, please. We're gonna very first define the problem. And for this, you can ask questions of how can I rework my day so I can do more of what really makes me happy and less of what I dislike doing? Or how can I do more things throughout the day that give me more positive energy? What does my job need more of that I can really feel fulfilled with what I'm working? Or what do I want to do next? What do I do? What do I need most to change or to challenge in my life? Take these questions, sit with yourself, and asking them all, define the problem. Next slide. From here, once you define it, you're gonna start to ideate for yourself. There's a difference between the navigation and the wayfinder. Navigation is when you know your destination, and then you plan, and then you follow the route to get to your destination. That is, since you know your exact destination, there are explicit directions you can follow and get there. But the problem with designing your life is that you don't know your destination. You're constructing your road and your destination yourself, and you define where you're gonna get and how you're gonna get there. You may just have a general idea of, I like this kind of activities. I would like to one day to, be able to do that and that job. And the kind of things that give you the energy, as opposed to draining your energy, are gonna show you the way to get to your solution, to your ideal life, career, or project. But not really much more than that. So when you know that you want to go somewhere, but you're not exactly sure where that somewhere is, you use a process called wayfinding. And this is the way hunters find game in the wild. And here's the process. There's an antelope or a deer out there in the forest, but the hunter doesn't know where the animal is. However, they know how to track for it. And this is what you're going to be doing with design thinking. You're going to use design thinking to track the end goal of your life. So they go around from point to point, looking for clues, searching for indications that will direct them towards the animal. And you're going to be using this kind of exercises of designing your life to find the different points, the different dots, to connect them, to find your result, what makes you happy in life. And each clue that you find would lead you to the next one and to the next one. And the way you move forward in this way, from clue to clue to clue, until you actually find your answer, what you were looking for, your final destination. And I'm saying final destination, but I truly believe that our journey, it's a continuous destination. Points can change very fast as well. And it's important for you to stay flexible and to adapt to this and to look all the time for the clues that fit most to this particular point in your life. When you ideate, when you come with possibilities and alternatives to begin wayfinding by using idea generation techniques, such as brainstorming, for example, then you choose the best ideas to come up with and begin prototyping and testing those ideas that you keep so much dear to your heart. And lastly but not least, let's go to the next slide. Once you found those solutions, you're going to start to prototype. Very quick, cheap, and experience. Very, very fast to be available to find your most optimal solution that would lead you to testing. Instead of just endlessly analyzing things in your head or on the paper or getting, you will have to go out there. Be brave, go out, talk with your user, talk with yourself. Also as friends, as people that surround you, how do they see you? To see how everything is matching and forming a whole and finding the right solution. The testing part is going to be the critical one to say, okay, now we go fully in the implementation. We found the solution. This is our way to go forward. And I would like you to think about the designers of softwares. They're always releasing new programs with very minimal features in order to get very fast feedback from you, the users, the downloaders of the apps. And this lets them know whether they're building something that makes sense, that works for you as an end user or not. And if they keep building the prototypes until they build something that really sells well. But you will see you'll have different generation and different iteration and updates in your apps, right? And this is exactly how you apply design thinking, and this is what you can do with your own projects or with your personal life. And I would like to create a second illustration maybe for you. Think of, so I studied law. I will take the example of going to a law school. You're thinking of going to a law school to become a lawyer, but you don't know so much about it actually. And first, you will want to go and talk with somebody who's currently at a law school, and you invite them for a coffee to pick their brains, to really ask them all the questions that you have in mind to understand how is it to be in a law school. Then you go at the law school and you try to sit in class to see how does it feel to be in that environment with that teacher, we're on that chair, with all kind of people around you that are focused on law. How does it feel? Do I enjoy it? Then you're going to interview somebody who's a lawyer. Go and ask them, hey, you went through the law school and now you're a lawyer going court. How is it to be a lawyer? Do you enjoy? What are the positive parts? What are the negative parts? What is it missing? Then you go to a courthouse to observe how does a trial go? What does it look like? How people act in a trial? then you can try to even see if a lawyer would accept you to shadow them for a day or two to see what does a day in the life of a lawyer looks like. Do I see myself? Do I project myself in the journey of someone who's actually a lawyer? You can even take like a law-related massive online open course. There are so many of them nowadays for free. You can just go and see what you can learn from that and see if you actually enjoy it. You can sit outside of the courthouse or a very big, large law firm, take some photos of people walking in, walking out, put a chair maybe. I know it sounds weird, but really the more information you take and the more you're observing what actually happens, the more you understand if you identify and if it's something for you. And therefore, this is, the entire design thinking phase that allow you to get to the prototype and the test. And then if you decide, yes, I understand now what it means and I actually want to go on this journey, your testing phase is completed and you can actually start to go to the law school and apply all the different steps to get to become a lawyer, right? So continue prototyping and testing and making adjustments until you're really happy with the results. Iteration. That is really until you're really sure about the fact that you want to be a lawyer and you start your journey with the law school. And you can see in the diagram here that in the very center you have the pilot. It's prior to the testing. Then you have the probe, which is prior to learning, and prototype, the very external part. Yeah, so it goes narrow. From prototype, you probe what you thought, and then you pilot. You start really the real action. And we're already over the time. Apologies for the delay given the technicalities. With this being said, I hope you have an understanding of the different stages of design thinking, and you have now a couple of tools of how you can use. You have a better understanding of what design thinking actually means, how you can apply it, and how you can already discuss about it and start to be a designer yourself as of today. If people want to, I'm still open to stay and take some time for questions, if there are any questions. So
yes, and we have a few questions, so I'll read them out for you. And though we're a little short on time, so we'll take a few questions, and I request you to be a little brief as possible. So the first question goes like this. What we have been told is that in the design thinking process, questions can help understand a situation and get valuable insights. But how is it different from project-based learning?
For project-based learning, thank you so much for the question. Project-based learning, is not so structured sometimes, or it can be too focused on one direction. While in design thinking, through all these questions that you ask and through the interaction with the end user, you're actually going directly to the core problem, to understanding the human-centered aspect is really the key. And then you're producing a pool of information that will support you in getting different perspectives. Think about a chair. We always assume a chair, it's meant to sit down and it has 4 legs. But what if you challenge that aspect and you say, well, a chair has no legs and it's not sitting on the ground. What do you do with it? Well, you can create a hammock. You can hang your chair to the ceiling and you have a hanging chair and you can balance with the chair instead of standing on the chair, right? So this is what design thinking makes to your processes. It challenges and it's bringing you different approaches and ideas. Hope that answers.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, so we have another question which goes like this. So this question is from Rishabh, and he says that he loves the concept of design thinking, but has only practiced it in smaller groups, never in a large group. So he wants to know what can be the challenges while implementing design thinking in a group with a large number of people and how to overcome such challenges.
Sure. Design thinking, it's brainstorming is part of design thinking, and it's important to have as many people involved as possible. But it's also important to understand that if there are too many people, it may also be very difficult to I'm sorry, I'm missing the word, to organize everything, right? Because if you have 20 people speaking at the same time and putting ideas, it will be very hard to stick to the process. Therefore, I highly encourage, whenever you work in groups, bigger groups, try to split them in small working groups. 3 to 5 people would be the ideal. Yeah, 4 or 5 people would actually be the ideal number of people to work on specific exercises in design thinking. And then it's important to mix the group. So if you're 5 in one team and there are 2 other teams of 5, shuffle the teams and rework together, because like that, reading the idea of somebody else, or hearing out the idea of somebody else will give you different ideas. So it's important to have a big group, but it's important also applied to work in small groups.
Thank you, Anna. We have one more question. This will be the last question. So Kishan asks, can you please list out the types of prototypes that can be implemented practically with maximum efficiency?
Sure. As I mentioned already, you can start with a pen and a paper. It's really the simplest way. Draw what you have in mind. Take a cardboard, cut the cardboard, stick it together, create your product. If you have good skills in designing, use Adobe or different online softwares that help you design to visualize. Try really to use Lego, to use really practical and simple things that can be put together very fast in a very cheap way. And if this is the last question, I would also like to add to the chat, for those of you who are kind enough to take the time, a link to the Google Forms to give me some feedback for this session. I highly appreciate if you take it. It's taking you maybe 3 to 4 minutes to share your thoughts on how did you find this session. I'm always trying to improve and to offer better sessions in the future. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope this was a useful session. And again, if you wanna, if you have any specific questions, you want maybe feedback or support on something, do not hesitate to reach out via email or via LinkedIn, and I'll be very glad to help you.
Thank you so much, Anna. That is really kind of you. And on behalf of the entire organizing team and everybody present in this call today, we thank you so much for your time, and sincere apologies from our side to everyone for the technical glitches at the beginning. And I'm sure this session has helped our Rotaractors understand the concept of design thinking and how we can actually implement this, not only in Rotaract projects that we do, but also in other aspects of our daily lives. So thank you so much, Anna, for this insightful session. And I really hope all the participants today take this with them and practice this and implement it fully in the projects that we do. So with that, I would also like to present to you, Anna, a small token of appreciation, a virtual token from our side for your presence today.
Thank you so much.
Yes, just a second.
Yeah, sure, take your time. Meanwhile, I see there are 2 other questions in the chat, so maybe I answered to that. So most of the time we tend to use top-down approach while implementing program. Sorry, it's scrolling too. At clubs organizations because of constraints of budget, time, in such cases. What would be your suggestion to make the project effective? It's a very abstract question, so it's probably a bit hard to answer, but nothing is wrong with a top-down approach. It's important to see always look, what are the resources, what's the timeline, and what are you trying to achieve? And putting everything together, try to see what's the best solution. Design thinking, it's a solution that fits to many situations, but it's not necessarily always the solution. If you're dealing with a project that it has the goal and it will touch to humans, for sure design thinking will help you go through the stage and try to understand the problem, find a solution, test it, and go out there. For something else that is more analytical, maybe you have different, better suited solutions. Hope that answers. And if you have a specific case, Sabita, feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn and we can take a one-to-one discussion to maybe support you more there. And then Ajay is asking for resources or platforms to get more resources related to design thinking. I'll be Shakia, if that's okay, and if you can reach via email all the participants, I'll be happy to share some books and some more information like resources with you to share there further. Yeah, I can do that at the beginning of next. Oh, thank you so much. That's so beautiful.
Thank you so much, Anna. This is a virtual token of appreciation from my side for your time and for putting in so much efforts in passing on this valuable information to us. And we're also thankful for your enthusiasm in sharing more resources with the entire audience. So thank you so much. And I'm sure the audience had a great time. And due to the constraint in time, we won't be able to take any further questions. But as Anna said, we would love to interact further. And if you have questions, please feel free to connect with Anna on the various platforms that she shared. And you could also connect to the district team who can help you connect with her further. So with that, again, we also request all the participants, if you could fill in the Google Forms that Anna has just shared on the chat box, that would be really great to provide important feedback. And yes, so with that, Anna, we thank you once again, and we will be closing session going on the topic of leadership, as you all might be aware, and we also request you to join in those sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anna, once again.
All the best for everybody. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good day.
Bye-bye.